Hey there folks, before I get into the video on the pop sockets and how they're made, I wanted to mention, as of late, I've been making the pop sockets with EMF diffusing materials. There's a few different materials out there. My personal favorite and my family's personal favorite is shungite, but there's also other materials such as amazonite, lodestone, hematite, I hear, which add some medicine to your pop sockets. Kill three birds with one stone. Instead of just gripping onto your phone, using it as a kickstand, you could also use your pop socket as some EMF diffusing goodness to kick that poisonous radiation from your cell phone. Howdy there folks, this is Lapidary Dave, and right now I am making some Gemstone pop sockets. Pop sockets are those hipster phone grips you might see some people using, mostly ladies. Let you hold your phone, but also you can tilt it and it lets your phone lean up so you can watch your phone better. I don't know. Before I get started, I want to remind you folks, if you haven't done so already, make sure to hop on over to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's Lapidary Dave. Again, Lapidary Dave on YouTube for lapidary tips, tricks, giveaways, artist interviews, gear reviews, field trips, vloggings, and much, much more. I've been making these for just over a week. This one's one of the ones I made today. Beautiful Chihuahuan flame agate. Make all different kinds. I prefer to use softer materials because it's just faster. The first time I've ever seen a gemstone pop socket was from an artist here on YouTube named Marissa Murphy. She's a fantastic artist out of Michigan. She does a lot with Petoskey stones and the Marquette, Michigan stone Kona dolomite with stromatolite, also known as moose blood. These pop sockets, they're kind of cheesy. Popsocket is a name brand. So if you're looking up pop sockets to make, you're going to have to, look up like phone grips and stuff, because these little guys can be as high as $10 just for the base pop socket. I did find some generics online. These were 78 cents each. The only difference I can find out between these ones and these ones is that these ones, the top can come off and you can interchange the face of the socket with different faces. So if you want, you might even consider going about using the name brand, because you could swap out different gemstone tops. The generics don't come off, so you're kind of stuck with whatever, but that doesn't bother me. For 78 cents, I cannot complain. I do glue these using epoxy. I will be gluing one onto this piece of serpentine that I got at the Restore. And then, as an example, I will be slicing this one that's already been drying overnight and cabbing it up. I let them sit 24 hours to make sure that the bond is nice and strong. I do prefer to use thinner stone when I'm making pop sockets. Pieces like this, as you can see, nearly twice as thick as what I'm about to show you folks, are just a lot higher. Some people don't like it. No one's ever complained so far. But I personally prefer a thinner pop socket. It just stays flush against the phone a little bit better, not as invasive and stuff. I haven't failed any of these yet. No, none of the stones have fallen off. This is the only one I would probably consider a B grade. It's just because it was a cheap piece of calcite and is just kind of punky. First things first, I'm going to mix up some epoxy. Don't need a bunch. I do put the epoxy straight onto the pop socket itself and not onto the stone first. You might decide to do it the other way around, but this is just the way that I go about doing it. I see very, very little pop sockets coming from overseas. There are a few. I've seen some as high priced as $50 or $60, and I've seen a handful as low in price as $8. There's somebody selling Lapidary pop sockets for $8 before shipping, which is fantastic. Most of mine go for between $25 and $60. These things are a fantastic seller. I haven't put much on the market yet. I've just sold a few to some of my wholesale customers and been showing them to my friends, and I am getting pretty back ordered pretty fast. So I'm just gonna glob it on there. You don't need too much, but I do like enough of the glue on there to where when I push it against the stone, that the glue globs out on all sides of the stone like this. This way I know it's completely covered. If you don't do that, you might end up with a piece that has a void. I think I have one that has a void somewhere right here. On this piece of nephrite jade, you can see that I didn't get glue all the way on the ends. It doesn't really matter, but I just prefer it to not be able to, for folks not to be able to see any voids of glue on the side. I am definitely not a perfectionist, but I want it to be as best as I can in a reasonable amount of time. I do not like to spend an hour on these things. I've been working some softer stones because it's just faster and easier, but as of late, as of today, I've been working some harder stones like this Terratilla stuff, this Chihuahuan flame agate, and today I'm going to finish up these three. So when you have it on there, spread pretty well around the thing. Make sure your stone is nice and clean. I did wash this off. Just like when you're applying backing formula, you want to make sure there's no dust that might impede the sticking of the stone. Then I make sure that there's some room on the sides. And I will squish it down until I see the glue come out on all sides. This is 5-minute epoxy, but I still leave it for at least 24 hours. It might be able to be worked in 5 minutes. It definitely can't be sanded in 5 minutes, can't be polished in 5 minutes. I leave it for 24 hours. And that's the way I start it. Pretty cute. All right, that one will get worked tomorrow. Now, I'm going to go slice these up on a saw. I process as much as I can on the saw without getting too close to the plastic. I don't mind cutting through the glue, but I do not want to be able to see the plastic through the side of the glue when I'm cutting. That means I've gone too far. Some of these I have totally misshaped from grinding too much on one side of the plastic or the other, like this one. They'll still sell really nicely, but I prefer perfect circles, or as perfect as I can get them. All right, let's go to the saw. All right, so I'm gonna slice these up, do my best not to hit the plastic. I haven't done it so far. So that one was a close call, but it came out nicely. So now I'll find one that looks pretty colorful to give you something nice to look at. I'll work this one. I'm going to process it a bit, just take off as much as I can without taking off too much to save myself some time on the lapidary machine. A little bit of advice, don't worry about taking off too much and getting too close in one pass. Go ahead and take off the mask, then go back and take off the corners. I'm gonna start taking off these corners, then we will hop on over to the lapidary machine. Let's head on over to the lapidary machine. I will be doing my best to get as close to the plastic as I can without misshaping the plastic. I'm going to be looking for this white layer of glue to turn black, which means I've exposed the plastic. I'm going to do my best to keep it even. Again, I'm not really worried about making it 100% even. I'm not going to be able to do that all the time, but I do my best to keep it even because I like it circular. And there's definitely going to be some customers out there that are more nitpicky than me. So this is 80 grit, my friend. First thing I'm doing is going around and hitting all the corners, which will make it more circular. Then I will roll the piece to keep it as circular as I can. All right. As you folks may be able to see, the white glue spots on most places are now black. It means I broke through the the glue, and now I'm hitting the plastic. Ended up maintaining a decent circle on there. So now I'm gonna hit the edges, roll it around, lick the face a bit. I'm not too worried about a good dome, but I do want a good polish, so I do want to lick everything with all the wheels. And that, my friends, is 80 grit. Still pretty circular. I can see that it's slightly misshapen. Like I said, that doesn't matter to me. So this back under here does have the adhesive. It does get wet. I try to keep the plastic on with my fingers. Not once have I had any of the glue become useless from it becoming slightly wet. If you have less luck than I have, by not keeping the backing on and wetting the adhesive or ruining the adhesive, I think it dries a bit after it's not wet anymore. Then you might even want to use some spray adhesive or something when you're finished to get more sticky stuff and do whatever you got to do. Anyway, this next grit is 220. This is what it looks like dry at 220 grit. Let's hop on over to 280. On harder stones, I do take the material to 3000 grit before I polish it. On softer stones such as turquoise or serpentine, I only go up to 600 or 1200 grit before polishing it. However, even if I go to 3000 grit on a harder stone, I only take the side to either 600 or 1200. I just don't see it as being too necessary to polish the sides, especially if it's not completely cabbed. This is 280 grit finish. I could probably nail this with some compound and call it a day, but I want it as shiny as possible. So we're gonna hit it with 600 grit. Oh yeah, we're done with 600 grit. Already has a decent gloss going on. I could definitely hit this with some compound and call it a day. Make sure to check the backs, keep the backs all on there. Like I said, even if it gets wet, the adhesive kind of dries. I've never had a problem with this sticking. 1200 grit, my friends. This is the last wheel that I completely lick the stone with. I do the sides on harder stones with 1200 grit. All right, trying to dry it off. I've been working all day and everything on me is soggy. So this is 1200 grit dry. It's already got a good shine. I could call it a day, or I could buff it, make it even shinier, but I'm gonna take it one step further and take this to 3000 grit. This is dry, this is not wet. As you might be able to tell, it's not 100% perfect, but that's fine. 90% of the boutique pop sockets you'll see online are not done in this fashion where it really hugs the socket. Most of them are just glued, just cabs glued onto the pop socket. And you'll see a lot of pieces that are just oversized for the plastic pop socket itself. Some of them are undersized, and you can see the plastic beyond the stone. I don't like that. I see a lot of just those dyed agate tiles glued onto the pop socket. You can see right through it. It's smaller than the socket or way bigger. And they're selling like hotcakes. I like to make mine this way. It feels more intimate to me. It's like I'm actually making it. It's not just gluing it on there. But go ahead and just glue some cabs as close as you can get it to the sides of the socket onto the socket, and I'm sure they'll sell just as good. This is 3000 grit. I won't be hitting the sides, I'll just be hitting the face. And that's it for 3000 grit, my friends. If you do it right, 3000 grit should take no time at all. This is dry, my friends. This is not wet. Some nice little variation in there. Some crystallinis right there on whatever kind of weird jasper this is. I could call it a day, leave it as is. This is definitely good enough to sell. But I'm going to pop on my respirator and we're going to buff it using some Fabuluster. Fabuluster is an aluminum oxide and is not the best compound for polishing agates and jaspers. Cerium oxide would be better. All right, coming over here. I'm going to give you guys a before and after. This is before. And this, my friends,
is after.
100% dry. Sometimes I take an X-Acto knife and I clean up the plastic chatter around the socket. No big deal. Just go around with an X-Acto and clean up the chatter. You're definitely not going to scratch the stone with an X-Acto knife. So, that was making a Gemstone pop socket. Like I said before, I sell these between $25 and $60. I do prefer working softer stones, and ironically, the softer stones are worth a lot more than like these agates and jaspers and petrified wood and stuff. I made a nephrite jade one the other day. Pretty cool. Too much work. Softer stuff just works a little bit better for me. I hope this inspires you to make your own pop sockets. Don't go out and buy the $10 ones unless you plan on, like, because they're interchangeable, hustling the higher price or whatever. I go online and I buy like 25 to 100 at a time for 78 cents each. They work fine. I'm pretty sure people prefer thinner sockets than more broad sockets because it's less invasive on the cell phone. Let me find a cell phone. Oh, here's one. My good old beater. Kind of want a smaller one, you know? A couple more things. If your stone is translucent, I made a couple rose quartz ones that sold out the day I made them. You could see right through the back to the black plastic. If you're gonna make translucent ones, perhaps go out and buy white-based pop sockets, because the white looking through the stone looks less odd than seeing the black through the stone. In this particular case, you can see the darkness through it, but I think it accents this weird Chihuahuan flame agate. And the same thing with whatever the heck kind of agate, crystallini, druzy thing is going on here. It looks better black. But if you're gonna go out and buy like 50 or 100 of these, get like maybe like 50 white ones and 50 black ones, all that good stuff. Again, if you work these, try to keep the backing on there. It does dry and the adhesive still does stick after being wet. I've never had a problem with it sticking ever. Yeah. If it does mess up your adhesive for whatever reason, go ahead and get some spray adhesive, like some Elmer's adhesive. Put some binding tape on here or some blue painter's tape. Put a lot of it on there, then put the backing back on there. If you don't have the backing, maybe use like wax paper or something. I don't know. Anyway, I love you folks. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Lapidary Dave. That's Lapidary Dave on YouTube for lapidary tips, tricks, giveaways, artist interviews, field trips, vloggings, and much, much more. Yeah, if you'd like to get a pop socket from me, let me know. Go out there and have fun, folks. These are not a overly made thing. It's the pop sockets. Nobody's making them yet. At least, like, wholesalers aren't. I haven't seen them at Tucson or Denver or anything. So it's definitely something worth making. I love you folks. Make some pop sockets. I'd love to see what you make. This is Lapidary Dave, my friends. I love you folks. Stay easy. Stay safe. Go cut some rocks. Wear a respirator.